Have you ever wondered why some people always seem one step ahead? They walk into a room and quickly understand who holds power, who is pretending, and who can be trusted. They rarely fall for lies. They make better decisions. They stay calm under pressure. To most people, this looks like intelligence. But according to Machiavelli, it is something even more valuable. It is cleverness. Clever people do not simply know more. They observe more. They think before they act. They understand human nature and use that knowledge to protect themselves and achieve their goals. In a world where people hide their true intentions, being clever is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. Every conversation, every opportunity, and every conflict is a game of strategy. Those who fail to recognize the game often become victims of those who do. But the good news is that cleverness is not something you are born with. It is a skill that can be developed through discipline, observation, and experience. In this video, you will discover 5 powerful lessons inspired by Machiavelli that will help you sharpen your mind, avoid manipulation, and think several moves ahead. By the end, you will see the world differently and understand why becoming clever is one of the greatest forms of power. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that everyone is exactly who they appear to be. A smile is taken as kindness. A compliment is accepted as honesty. A promise is trusted without question. This is how people become easy targets. Machiavelli understood a truth that many still ignore today. Human beings are masters of appearance. They show you what benefits them, not always what is real. If you want to become clever, you must stop judging people by their words alone. Start paying attention to their actions. Actions reveal what words try to hide. Anyone can tell you they are loyal, but only time can prove it. Anyone can claim they support you, but their behavior when you face difficulties will expose their true character. Clever people understand this difference. They never rush to trust. They observe first. Imagine meeting someone who constantly praises you. At first, it feels good. Your guard drops because everyone enjoys being appreciated. But ask yourself one simple question. What do they gain by making you feel important? Sometimes the answer is nothing. Other times the answer is everything. Many manipulative people know that praise lowers defenses faster than criticism. Once you feel comfortable, they begin influencing your decisions without you even noticing. Machiavelli believed that people are often driven by self-interest before anything else. This does not mean everyone is evil. It means everyone has desires, fears, ambitions, and personal goals. The clever person never ignores this reality. Instead of asking what people are saying, ask yourself what they want. This single habit can save you from countless disappointments. Watch how people behave when they have nothing to gain from you. Notice whether they remain respectful when no one is watching. Observe how they treat those who cannot offer them status or money. Character is revealed when there is no reward for pretending. Another mistake people make is believing first impressions last forever. They refuse to update their opinion even when new evidence appears. Clever people do the opposite. They constantly collect information. They allow people to reveal themselves over time. They know that trust is earned slowly, but can be destroyed quickly. Observation is a powerful weapon because it costs nothing. You simply remain patient while others expose themselves through their own choices. Silence often teaches more than endless conversation. While everyone else is busy talking, the clever person is studying facial expressions, body language, reactions under pressure, and consistency between words and actions. Patterns never lie. A single mistake may be an accident, but repeated behavior is a window into someone's true nature. This is why clever people are rarely shocked by betrayal. They usually saw the warning signs long before everyone else did. They simply refuse to ignore them. Becoming clever does not require becoming suspicious of every person you meet. It requires becoming aware that appearances are often carefully designed. Learn to separate emotion from observation. Be slow to trust, quick to notice patterns, and wise enough to accept reality, even when it is uncomfortable. The person who sees beyond appearances holds an advantage that cannot be easily stolen. Because while others react to illusions, you respond to the truth. Most men believe that speaking more makes them look confident, intelligent, and important. They think they must always have the perfect response, tell impressive stories, or prove their knowledge in every conversation. Machiavelli would argue the opposite. The man who reveals everything about himself gives away his greatest advantage. Silence is not weakness. It is control. A clever man understands that every word he speaks gives other people information. They learn what excites him, what upsets him, what he fears, and what he plans to do. The more they know, the easier it becomes to predict him, and if necessary, manipulate him. This is why the most strategic men never feel the need to explain themselves constantly. They listen more than they talk. They ask questions instead of giving long speeches. While others are busy trying to impress the room, they are quietly collecting valuable information. Think about the people who naturally command respect. They are rarely the loudest voices in the room. They speak with purpose. When they do speak, others pay attention because their words are not wasted. Silence creates mystery, and mystery creates influence. People become curious about the man who does not constantly seek attention. They begin to wonder what he knows and what he is thinking. This gives him an invisible advantage. In relationships, silence is just as powerful. Many men lose their position because they react emotionally to every message, every disagreement, and every moment of uncertainty. They feel the need to explain themselves immediately or chase after someone who has become distant. A clever man understands that not every situation requires a response. Sometimes silence communicates confidence better than 100 emotional messages. It shows that your emotions are under your control, not under someone else's control. This does not mean ignoring people or playing childish games. It means refusing to let emotions force you into unnecessary actions. Silence also protects you from making costly mistakes. Many arguments become worse because someone refuses to stop talking. In anger, people say things they cannot take back. They reveal secrets, expose weaknesses, or destroy relationships that could have been saved. A clever man knows that once words leave his mouth, they can never be recalled. He chooses them carefully because he understands their power. Another reason silence is valuable is that people often reveal more when you simply let them speak. If you interrupt less and listen more, others will eventually expose their opinions, their intentions, and even their weaknesses. Many people are uncomfortable with silence. They rush to fill it by talking, often revealing information they never intended to share. The clever man allows silence to do the work for him. He observes without rushing. He notices inconsistencies between what people say and what they actually mean. He learns who can be trusted and who cannot. This habit becomes a powerful form of intelligence because knowledge is collected before decisions are made. Mastering silence also means becoming comfortable with not needing everyone's approval. You do not have to win every debate or prove every point. Real confidence does not shout for recognition. It remains calm because it does not depend on validation. The man who speaks only when necessary develops a reputation for wisdom rather than noise. His words carry weight because they are rare, thoughtful, and deliberate. In the end, cleverness is not measured by how much you can say. It is measured by how much you understand before you choose to speak. The man who controls his tongue often controls the situation, while the man who talks without thinking usually gives away the very power he is trying to display. One habit separates clever men from ordinary men more than almost anything else. Clever men think before they move. Most people react to life as it happens. They make decisions based on emotions, pressure, or excitement. They deal with problems only after they appear. Machiavelli believed this was a dangerous way to live. He understood that the future belongs to those who prepare for it before everyone else sees it coming. A man without strategy is like a ship without a compass. He may move quickly, but he has no control over where he ends up. Becoming clever means developing the habit of looking beyond the present moment. Before you make a decision, ask yourself what could happen next. Then ask what could happen after that. This simple exercise trains your mind to see consequences that emotional people completely miss. Imagine accepting a new opportunity simply because it promises quick rewards. A clever man does not focus only on today's benefit. He considers whether that decision will create problems 6 months from now. He asks whether the people involved can be trusted, whether the reward is worth the risk, and whether there is a better option that requires more patience. This way of thinking prevents many costly mistakes. The same principle applies to relationships. Many men destroy good relationships because they only think about winning the current argument. They speak out of pride instead of wisdom. They satisfy their ego for one moment, but damage trust that took years to build. A clever man understands that being right is not always the same as being successful. Sometimes the smartest move is protecting the relationship instead of proving a point. Strategy is about seeing the bigger picture instead of becoming trapped by temporary emotions. Another lesson Machiavelli teaches is that every action creates a reaction. If you can predict how people are likely to respond, you immediately gain an advantage. Before making an important move, ask yourself how others will feel, what they might do, and how you will respond if they do not act as expected. This is not manipulation, it is preparation. Successful men are rarely surprised because they have already considered several possible outcomes before taking action. They have a plan for success and a plan for failure. That is why they recover faster when life becomes difficult. Strategic thinking also means learning patience. Many opportunities are lost because people cannot wait. They rush into business deals, relationships, investments, and life-changing decisions simply because they fear missing out. Clever men understand that patience is often more profitable than speed. Time reveals information that emotions hide. Waiting allows people to expose their true intentions. It allows situations to become clearer. It gives you the chance to make decisions based on facts instead of assumptions. This is why patience is not passive. It is a calculated decision to avoid unnecessary mistakes. Another important habit is learning from other people's failures instead of only your own. Observe men who constantly repeat the same mistakes. Notice how impulsive decisions damage careers, friendships, and families. Every mistake you witness becomes a free lesson if you are paying attention. Clever men treat life like a chess game, not a race. They understand that every move influences the next one. They sacrifice small pleasures today if it leads to greater success tomorrow. They refuse to let temporary emotions control permanent decisions. In the end, becoming clever is not about predicting the future with perfect accuracy. It is about preparing so well that whatever happens, you are never caught completely off guard. The man who thinks several moves ahead rarely becomes a victim of circumstances because he has already prepared himself for the challenges that others never saw coming. One of the greatest strengths a man can develop is emotional control. Most people believe power comes from physical strength, money, or status. Machiavelli understood that true power begins with mastering yourself. If someone else can easily make you angry, jealous, fearful, or desperate, they already have control over you. A clever man refuses to hand that power to anyone. He understands that emotions are natural, but they should never become the leader of his decisions. Every day, life presents situations designed to test your patience. Someone disrespects you. A friend betrays your trust. A relationship ends unexpectedly. A coworker takes credit for your effort. In those moments, most people react immediately. They speak without thinking, act without planning, and later regret what they have done. A clever man does something different. He pauses. That short moment of self-control often saves him from making a mistake that could affect him for years. He knows that a temporary emotion should never create a permanent consequence. Anger is one of the easiest emotions to manipulate. People know that if they can make you angry, they can make you careless. When your emotions take over, your judgment becomes weak. You stop thinking strategically and start acting impulsively. This is exactly what many manipulative people want. They provoke you until you expose your weaknesses while they remain calm. The clever man refuses to play this game. He understands that staying calm under pressure is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of discipline. Fear can be just as dangerous. Many men stay in situations they have outgrown because they fear change. They avoid taking opportunities because they worry about failure. They allow anxiety to make decisions for them. Machiavelli believed fortune often favors those who are prepared to act boldly. But boldness is different from recklessness. A clever man studies the risks, prepares himself carefully, and then moves forward with confidence, instead of allowing fear to keep him trapped. Emotional control also protects a man in relationships. Many men lose respect because they become emotionally dependent on another person's attention or approval. They panic when communication changes. They chase when someone pulls away. They constantly seek reassurance instead of remaining secure in themselves. A clever man values relationships, but he never allows his peace of mind to depend entirely on another person's behavior. His confidence comes from his own character, purpose, and self-respect. Because of this, he responds thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. Another powerful habit is learning not to take every insult personally. Some people criticize because they are frustrated with their own lives. Others simply want attention. If you respond to every negative comment, you allow strangers to control your emotions. A clever man chooses his battles carefully. He asks himself whether a response will improve the situation or simply satisfy his pride. Often, silence and composure send a stronger message than an angry argument ever could. Emotional discipline does not mean pretending you never feel pain. It means refusing to let pain become your master. Every successful man experiences disappointment, rejection, and failure. The difference is that clever men learn from these experiences instead of being defeated by them. They transform frustration into motivation and setbacks into wisdom. They understand that emotions are temporary, but the decisions made during emotional moments can last a lifetime. In the end, the man who conquers himself becomes difficult to manipulate, difficult to intimidate, and difficult to defeat. Before you try to master the world around you, first learn to master the world within you, because the greatest victory any man can achieve is complete control over his own mind. One of the greatest achievements a man can reach is becoming impossible to manipulate. Every day, people try to influence your decisions. Some do it openly, while others do it so subtly that you never notice it happening. Advertisements tell you what to desire. Friends pressure you to fit in. Social media rewards you for following the crowd. Some people use guilt, praise, fear, or false kindness to get what they want from you. Machiavelli understood that the man who cannot think for himself will always end up living according to someone else's plan. That is why becoming clever begins with developing an independent mind. A man who questions what he hears is much harder to control than a man who accepts everything without thinking. Clever men do not reject every opinion, but they test every idea before believing it. They ask simple questions. Who benefits if I believe this? Why is this person telling me this? Is there evidence, or am I simply being persuaded by emotion? These questions create a mental shield against manipulation. Many men make the mistake of confusing confidence with certainty. They become emotionally attached to their opinions and refuse to change even when the facts prove them wrong. A clever man does the opposite. He is confident enough to admit when he has learned something new. His goal is not to protect his ego. His goal is to discover the truth. This mindset allows him to grow, while others remain trapped by pride. Another way to become difficult to manipulate is by controlling your desires. Most manipulation succeeds because it offers people something they desperately want. It may be money, attention, love, status, or approval. When desire becomes uncontrollable, judgment becomes weak. People begin making decisions they would normally avoid because they are blinded by emotion. A clever man enjoys success and recognition but he never becomes a slave to them. He understands that desperation is visible, and manipulative people know exactly how to exploit it. The less desperate you become, the more freedom you gain. Independent thinking also requires learning to spend time alone with your own thoughts. Many people are uncomfortable with silence because it forces them to confront themselves. They constantly seek entertainment or validation from others instead of reflecting on their lives. A clever man regularly steps away from the noise. He thinks deeply about his goals, his mistakes, and the direction of his life. This habit strengthens his judgment because his decisions are based on careful reflection instead of outside pressure. It also helps him recognize when someone is trying to push him toward choices that do not serve his future. Another important lesson is to avoid becoming emotionally attached to popular opinion. The crowd is not always wise. History is filled with examples of large groups making terrible decisions because everyone followed without questioning. Clever men are willing to stand alone when necessary. They do not change their principles simply to gain acceptance. They understand that respect earned through integrity lasts much longer than approval gained through conformity. This does not mean rejecting advice from others. It means evaluating every piece of advice with reason before accepting it. Build the habit of reading, learning, and exposing yourself to different perspectives. Every new idea sharpens your ability to recognize deception. Every lesson strengthens your independence. The more knowledge you gain, the harder it becomes for others to mislead you. In the end, the clever man is not controlled by fear, praise, trends, or pressure. He is guided by wisdom, discipline, and clear thinking. That is the kind of man Machiavelli admired, not the loudest man in the room, nor the strongest, but the one whose mind remains free. When your thoughts belong to you, and your decisions are made with patience and reason, you become a man who cannot be easily deceived, distracted, or manipulated. That is one of the highest forms of power any man can possess. In the end, becoming clever is not about deceiving others. It is about seeing the world with clear eyes and making wise decisions before emotions take over. Machiavelli teaches that power begins in the mind. When you observe more, speak with purpose, think ahead, control your emotions, and refuse to be manipulated, you gain an advantage that few people possess. These habits are not learned overnight, but every day you practice them, you become stronger, wiser, and more difficult to defeat. Master your mind first, and the opportunities, respect, and influence you seek will naturally begin to follow.